Hello, and welcome to episode number 17 of the Magic is in You podcast, the podcast designed to empower you to tune and tap in and turn on the magic within inside of you without self-doubt, self-sabotage, and limiting beliefs holding you back so that you can truly create, live, and embody your magic so that you can create the life that you truly desire. My name is Kelsey Holmes, and I am a life mindset and embodiment coach, empowering badass women entrepreneurs to tune and tap in, turn on their magic so that they can truly live, create, enjoy, and become the architect of their own life that lights them the fuck up from the inside out. And I'm so excited you're here today. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you so much. If this is your first episode, shoot me a DM. Tell me you're listening. I would love to hear, or better yet, share it on your stories on Instagram. I am so grateful for the people who have shared this podcast to get it out to everybody, or to their people, the people that this is helping, the women that this is helping. I am so grateful that you are sharing this. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And if you share it on Instagram, I would love to reshare it. So just tag me at Kelsey the Adventurer. I'm super grateful. And I'm so excited that you're here today because today I have another interview for you. Oh my goodness gracious, with Jessi Rice Greenlow. And she is bringing her magic, sharing her story, shining her light, and bringing you really tactical things that you can implement in your life. Small tactical things that you can implement in your life to develop the habits to become the person that you desire to grow into, not just for yourself, but for future generations. She shares so openly, so vulnerably about her journey, finding her magic, tuning and tapping in, turning it on with inside of herself. Not only did she lose 120 pounds, but she actually transformed the way she thinks and feels about herself, building self-trust, like a super solid foundation of self-trust, like I said, not just for her, but for her child and her future generations beyond her. And it's such a good episode. Anyway, before we dive in, I do want to share with you that the Embodied Empowerment Challenge, aka opportunity, is starting on Wednesday, January 29th, the Lunar New Year, the next new moon here in just a couple of days. And I am so fucking excited because this is a powerful 7-day transformational challenge that's going to empower you to truly tap into your inner light, your inner power from the inside out. We are going to be doing body and somatic practices every single day, along with energetic and mindset work so that you can cultivate your power within yourself and feel the empowerment in your body, be in the empowerment in your body, embody your fucking light, your magic, your empowerment. So if you want more information, it starts on Wednesday for the live course and running of the Magic is in You, the Embodied Empowerment Challenge, and replays will be available. So if you want to catch it on the replay, go ahead and grab it in the link below. It is just $47 live, and the price will triple once it's done. So if you're listening to this live, I highly recommend grabbing it. It's going to be so fucking good. And without further ado, let me tell you a little bit more about Jessi. So Jessi and I actually met in a coaching program that we were in together several years ago now. And we've been connected since. And we've talked since. We've helped each other be accountable in our businesses and growing each other and helping empower each other in our growth and witnessing each other's growth. And I'm so excited. So Jessi Rice Greenlow is a passionate, inclusive behavioral health and transformational parent coach dedicated to helping women break free from diet culture, embrace mental and physical wellness, and build sustainable, healthy for you habits. With her personal journey as a bariatric patient losing over 120 pounds, she brings relatable insights and deeply personal perspective to her work. As the creator of the Balanced Life Transformation Wellness Without the Pressure, she empowers women to overcome all or nothing thinking, cultivate body positivity, and support generational transformation. Through practical strategies and emotional empowerment, she inspires freedom, balance, and joy in the lives of the women and families she serves. And Jessi truly embodies this magic as she shares so vulnerably, so openly, and so authentically through this episode of her personal transformation in herself and then also becoming a mother. And let's go ahead and dive right in. All right. Welcome, Jessi. I'm so excited to have you here. Thank you so much for joining me on the Magic is in You podcast.
Thank
And
you.
as
Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry.
oh,
Jumping in.
get it. And as I was just saying in the intro, Jessi and I actually have known each other for a few years now. We were in a coaching program together and have been
Mhm.
connected. And like I've been able to witness Jessi's growth and expansion and evolution over the last few years. And it's been so beautiful and so magical. And I'm so excited to share you with, or share Jessi with everybody. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. It is a pleasure, always a pleasure to be with you, to connect with you. I think that we have some kindred spirits, and it's always magic when we talk. So I'm pumped.
Absolutely. I totally agree. So, Jessi, give us, if you could take us back to a moment in time where you realized that it was time to like tap into your magic and really like turn it on. Like a moment in time where you were like, okay, I know it's in me. I'm going to make this happen. Can you think of a moment in time where you had that feeling of like, I know this is here and now it's time to like to go and do the thing.
Yeah, I've got two pivotal moments that
Ooh.
really like viscerally pop up when you just ask. Um, it's so interesting. It's like I was sitting down and I was like, okay, what's Kelsey gonna ask me? Like where we're going with this? And I just jotted down two moments that really kind of like lived in my head and in my heart. And I'm like, these are the moments where like I grabbed, and I'm gonna be fully, wholly, truly me. Grabbed the bull by the horns and said, let's do this. And that was I kind of have to set the scene, right? So
Yeah.
set the scene, my life and lifestyle um, was like, for lack of a better word, just like very, ooh, um, all right, fixated on a specific body size, shape, stature, and my
Mm.
worth was attached to that. And there was probably 20 years of extreme dieting, like chasing that goal. So starting at 10 years old and then really having a culminating moment. And I'll get to those two pieces at that time, but I have to set that scene and I have to set
Hmm.
that stage because I think that's relatable. And it's also like the truth, right? And there's so much that goes into that. Like we don't have all day for it, but there's so much that goes into that, right? And it was also, health anxiety. It was zero coping skills or zero positive coping skills at that time. It was really just survival skills. It was just a lot of trial and error, but also trying for the wrong things.
Mm.
And so for me, the moments that changed the trajectory of my life and really kind of like lit me on fire were, it was kind of twofold. Okay.
Yeah.
So number one was that like I was doling it out to absolutely everybody else except for myself. And the
Mm.
lifestyle, like it was rough. It was really rough. Some really dark times, some really dark moments, deep, dark depression, anxiety. And none of my habits were supportive of a life I truly wanted to live. And I hate kind of admitting that, but that's real. That's true. That was true for
Yeah.
me.
And I so appreciate your vulnerability and authenticity because I know I mean I have full body chills thinking about it because I can totally relate to that like where even though I wanted this like expansive, like exploration, adventurous, beautiful, active life, like my habits did not align with that. And
Mhm.
like the self deprecating thoughts that were on
Mhm.
autopilot and just like being in this autopilot of negative self talk, limiting beliefs, negative habits for my body,
Mhm.
for my being, for my heart. I really appreciate you setting the scene and recognizing that it's never just one moment that actually like creates this magic that is now, right? It's
Sure.
oftentimes this whole journey, this whole lifetime that's led to this one pivotal moment that we make a decision in this moment. We can make make a decision here now. This is the line in the sand moment, but it's not usually overnight that we get to that point, right?
Right. Yeah. And there's probably like bottom of the barrel, like you are at the lowest of low and you have to make a change. Like it's like for me, that's what it was. It was like you have to, or there's nothing else.
Yeah.
And I don't want everyone to get to that point, but sometimes you have to. And maybe that was a get to moment, right? Now I
Mm-hmm.
have that experience. That is my lived experience to be bottom of the barrel. And like I kind of categorize this in a size and stature moment. Like 293 pounds for me is kind of like a label that I put on myself, but it's not just that. Like that was an experience, that was a lifestyle, that was the point that like all things had changed. And it was because I wanted, well, now my background is early childhood education. I have degrees in early childhood education, developmental psychology, family studies.
Mm-hmm.
And I was not using that work in my own life, and it was kind of compartmentalized. And then I got out of the classroom. I started working for a nonprofit. That was great. That gave me some really good business experience and went back to my roots of like social work. I really wanted to continue doing that work, started working for the state, started working in the juvenile justice system. And this is where like my health and like this forward thought came into play was that
Mm.
I was working in the juvenile justice detention center is really what it was. And these are kids, for lack of a better word, that were like detained because nobody could really support them in the ways that they needed support.
Mm.
Some of them were in lockdown, some of them were in like transitional housing, but it was so much of like their caregivers, their parents really couldn't provide what they needed, and they needed to be in a rehabilitation department, if I would kind of call it that. And
Mm-hmm.
my position was a permanency coordinator. And so I worked with the families and gave them coaching and support and really tried to support what they were working on as a family unit, as a whole unit, so that permanency, which is like reunification and the child coming back into that home setting, could be a positive outcome for everyone. And this is when it hit me. This is when it hit me was that like, if I want a positive future for my future children, like I have got to get this together. I have got to get my shit together. And sort of this like culminating moment was like I had a parent screaming at me at midnight, screaming at me. And I was like, okay, like, first of all, that child is safe. That child is cared for. That child is in a space that like this shouldn't be happening. I should not be on a phone call at midnight. And I said, oh, these kids don't have boundaries because these parents don't have boundaries. That was such a light bulb moment. And that's not judgment, it's observation. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not being critical, it's being curious.
Mm-hmm.
And so that set me on fire. And like, do you feel the tingles? Like, I
I
got the,
do. Oh my God. I literally have like visceral full body chills because
yeah,
I didn't know your background, or I knew some of your background, but I didn't know this part. So this is super exciting to get to know you even deeper and better. But
I have
like,
some
I can,
stories there. Yeah.
oh, oh, I bet there's some stories there, but also like that pivotal moment of realization that like, oh, this isn't the child, like this doesn't start with the child that's in the detention center. This starts so much further because it's not just that parent, but their parents' parents, right? And
Yeah.
like, and
Yeah.
that light bulb moment that like, oh shit, of if I continue on this path, what does my future family look like? And like
Sure.
having that desire and that that transformation within yourself and
Yeah.
desire to transform in yourself so that you could give your daughter, your now daughter, the
Yeah.
best, like most loving, supportive environment that you could. And that includes how you treat yourself.
Yeah. So that was that one piece. And it
Hmm.
didn't start with compassion or kindness. It started with like, I've got to make a change. I've got to make a change right now. And I went into the doctor and I went in and my husband and I had just gotten married and I said, okay. And I hadn't started doing any kind of type of personal development yet. This was not at that space yet.
Hmm.
And it was all kind of around the same time where I'm like having these illuminating moments and being like, okay, like things need to shift, but it was still very much the same, very much extremes, very much so punitive. And I was at the doctor's office and my doctor, I told her, I was like, I want to do some family planning. My husband and I have just gotten married. Like my lifelong dream is to be a mother. Like I could not do anything and just pop out hundreds of babies. Like that's what I want to do with my life. And she looked at me and she looked at me point blank and was like, we don't recommend it. We don't recommend that you have children at this size. You are too unhealthy. And mind you, that's without doing blood work. That's without doing anything. She just went by BMI and the scale, which is not new to me because I have lived that my whole life.
Wow. Yeah. And that's hard to be like right at that moment too, when you're thinking about the future and having somebody just kind of point blank, not sugarcoat it for lack of a better term,
Yeah,
and
the bedside
just,
manner
yeah,
was lacking. Like, first of all, like the
just
bedside
a little
manner
bit.
could have been a little different, but yeah, so pivotal, right? Fire. Like I see the blankness on your face and you're like, I don't know what to say to that. Me either, but I got pissed. And that's what changed
Obviously.
things for me. And that was when I said, okay, I'm going to get a vertical sleeve gastrectomy, which is a surgical procedure to essentially, I don't know if you're familiar, but it is essentially weight loss surgery. I have
Hmm.
tried everything under the books. Mind you, I'd been dieting since I was 10, lots of extreme, lots of disordered eating, lots of disordered function, a terrible relationship with food and fitness. And I said, I have done it all. I don't know what else to do. Working with dietitians, working with the nutritionist, I don't know what to do. And if I am the one that is in the way of my dreams, then I can also be the one that changes that. And so, much of the same, more extreme. This, like, it hadn't occurred to me yet that it could be done in a different way. And so I got the vertical sleeve gastrectomy, which kind of amputates part of your stomach. And I lost 120 pounds. And that changed my life forever.
Yeah. And so you had the procedure, are going through this. The doctor is like the least sensitive person ever, it sounds like. I had well, I wasn't asking about family planning, but I had a similar appointment with a doctor at one point, and they used a more tactful way of telling me. She said, you could be taller for your weight. And I kind of, it was so offhanded. And at that point, I was a little over 200 pounds, which um, was not where I wanted to be at all.
Sure.
But it was that offhanded comment. And then there was nothing, I didn't get any support to back up, like,
Yeah.
how
We would
to,
change that. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because for me, it was very much like emotional, psychological. Like, yes,
Mhm.
food would have been a better, or like different food options would have been better, but it was in my brain and my emotions. It wasn't in the actual like food itself. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, but so you had this procedure and it lit, or like this whole event at the doctor's office lit the fire that led to the procedure and led to the transformation in your body. But it wasn't just that led to
No.
that transformation, right? Because you had
Yeah.
that fire that was lit in you. How did you use that for fuel rather than just letting it completely like, that would have destroyed me, quite
Yeah.
frankly.
Yeah. I I used that moment in that doctor's office with that fire, with that anger, because first it's very real to be just like see red.
Yeah, fuck
Like
yeah.
you just told me that I could not do what I wanted to do. And I know as somebody who has worked with hundreds of families and children that there are plenty of people who lived in much larger bodies than I lived in and had successful families.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know that, right?
Yeah.
And then on another level, it's like, okay, well, yeah, you're right. I do want to set my child up for the best possible future and future outcomes also. So it's dual-handed.
Hmm.
And I'd never been in a position where like I was the deciding factor of what was going to happen next. And that was the magic for me. And that was the moment where I made a decision for myself and I stopped putting everybody else first and I put myself first.
That's fucking huge. Like, where you really, in that moment, were able to like decide to take control of yourself and your life and the trajectory of your life and not
Hmm.
stay in that spot of the things outside of you to fix you, right, or to
Hmm.
support you, to really like come into this moment of, okay, I'm going to source this magic, this empowerment within myself and
Yeah.
really cultivate the change and cultivate what I desire in my life.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
No, no, go for it.
Oh, I was just going to say or ask you, like, as you made that decision, what kind of what actually transpired from that decision for you? Like, what actions transpired from that decision for you?
Well, I was forced no by no other means to learn about how to fuel myself properly, how to fuel
Mm.
my body for me, because I am not Kelsey. I am not Sarah over here. I am not, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
all of these one size fits alls, like they work for a minute. Everything works if you work it, but you've got to work it for you. And
Yeah.
that was not something that had ever occurred to me. That is not something that I was familiar with. And it was really getting connected in the mind and the body and getting to know myself on a much deeper level. And instead of
Mm.
this like very surface level desire for thinness and this desire for this ideal body size and shape and this desire for, my whole life would be so much better if I were thinner and if I were smaller and then I would like that was no longer a part of the picture. And maybe it was backburnered for some time, but what became was I don't trust myself. I don't know how to trust myself and I want to learn. And
Mm-hmm.
it was that very much so willingness to be like I got to learn how to work what I've got and what works for me.
That's fucking so powerful right there. And
Excuse me.
especially when you bring it back to the trust, because I think that this is something we put our trust in, or we're taught to put our trust in outside forces for ourselves, for our life, for our bodies, for our businesses, or like for our, jobs, for our relationships. We're taught to put our trust outside of ourselves. But like the idea of trusting myself was completely new to me when I started thinking about it in my late 20s. Like that is something that I had never really thought about, even in self development and growth and leadership positions and education positions. Like, that was never something that was talked about. It was something that, like, had to kind of be figured out. At least for me, it felt like it had to be figured out. In that realization of, like, shit, I don't trust myself. Like, fuck,
Mhm.
now what the fuck do I do now? And it sounds like you kind of hit that point of like, oh, now I know that this is actually about the trust within myself, or the lack
Mhm.
thereof trust within myself. When you hit that point, how did you create that trust within yourself? How did you grow that trust within yourself? What were some of the things that you were able to align with to expand that trust within yourself?
So a lot of it is like that forward thought of what do I want for my young child
Mm.
and keeping that in the forefront of my mind. And so my background is early childhood education, and this is how that comes into play. Excuse me. I got a little tickle there, got a little
Oh, you're
emotional,
good.
maybe.
Clearing
And
some shit out, right?
yeah, I get emotional when I talk about it because that was a driver.
Yeah.
That has always been the driver. And it really has never really been about Jessi Rice Greenlow. It's always been about that next generation. And like I'm here to do that work. I'm here to be a child advocate. I am here, like my life's work since I was 15. I mean 37. I'm going to be 37 next week. And
Happy
yeah,
early birthday.
thank you. Thank you. I love a birthday. Um like I have always been doing child advocacy. And it's very important to me that a child is seen and heard and validated, respected, and that it doesn't have to be earned, or that it doesn't have to be like you don't have to just grow up and then you get that respect. No, like you are respected as a human today, like
Mm.
today. And so it really is bringing autonomy and agency into play. And again, I hadn't been doing that work for myself, but I had been doing it for hundreds of children up until this kind of pivotal point for me. And advocating for them and helping parents to learn how to trust their kiddo for from a developmental standpoint. Light bulb moment, right? Light bulb
Yeah,
moment. Well, we can do that for ourselves. And it's a little bit of a journey about like reparenting. And I don't say that to discredit my parents. I have a fantastic connection with my parents, but we only know what we know. And
absolutely.
like we get to take radical responsibility for the things that are working for us and the things that aren't working for us. Like it doesn't have to be blame on somebody else. It doesn't,
Mm-mm.
my
Hmm.
parents knew what they knew. Their parents knew what they knew. And we are in like such a time where information, and maybe too much, is just so accessible that like if you're not doing your work, like what the fuck are you doing? Like what are you doing? And so cultivating that trust within myself was like, okay, things had not worked up until this point, and I don't want to go forward with that.
Hmm.
So keeping my child in the forefront of my mind, well, what would be better for their lives? And
Hmm.
mind you, I hadn't had children yet. Like my journey to get these children that I wanted so much, and I only have one right now, is what was a journey in itself too, like a fertility journey that like I didn't expect. And it was pulling all the things that I knew would be essential. Was like, okay, I want to trust myself. I want to learn that. And if I can't learn that for me, then I can't do that for them effectively. And so I truly 100% believe that the parent is the first teacher, but more is caught than taught. So
Mm. Ooh.
that is powerful. And that it took a little massaging, but I am now fully in that space. And knowing with this developmental psychology background, the early childhood development, bringing autonomy and agency, autonomy, the ability to make choices, and agency, being able to carry out those choices is a human right. And so I just started saying, okay, what are my rights? Like I was angry. I was so angry. I blamed a lot, you know. And sometimes I can still get really mad at society, and I can get mad at the standards, and I can get mad at the systems, and I can get mad at my parents, and I bring it back to I have choice. And now I can make different choices.
And even when we are upset at the things outside of us that we don't have control about it, when we do bring it back to that, I have choice. That's literally when you are taking back your power. That is building the trust within yourself. Every single time that you choose and like really embody and decide that you do have choice in this situation, to decide how you're going to think about it, how what questions you're going to ask yourself about it, how you're going to act about it, that really does bring back so much empowerment and so much self-trust within yourself. And then I really, when you were saying how when you really started working on trust within yourself, you really focused on how you wanted to be able to demonstrate this to your future children. I feel like my mind just exploded that when you said there is more caught than taught by parents,
Mhm.
that was like, holy shit, I so agree with that, because it's
Mhm.
um yeah, we're sponges when we're children, right? Up until the age of 7, like we are complete, like just complete sponges, whether it was actually intentionally taught or we were just observing how, for example, our parents treated themselves within themselves, or how they interacted with other people at the grocery store, with family, or with friends or other children. And that to me was super powerful, how you just described that. And I feel like it kind of blew my mind a little bit. I'm still like, holy shit, processing that little caught versus taught. But I also think that that's why I was so excited to interview you today on the podcast, because I see you demonstrating all of this work that you are talking about and how you did it for yourself. But I see you demonstrating that with how you interact with your daughter now, and how you are really intentionally planting the seeds of that self-care, the self-trust, the self-empowerment within yourself first, so that's what your daughter is catching, because that's what you are, the environment that you are creating for her to be able to grow in, not just be taught in, but catch all of the goodness in that you are actually cultivating and acting on now in your life. And so when you're building this with your future family in your mind, like how what were some of the things that, like, the specific, like, maybe like even like a little practice that you developed within building the trust within yourself, within growing yourself in this direction, so that you could be the best parent that you could be for your future children before you had your daughter?
All right. So I'm going to answer that. And also, I have to bring it back to like behaviorally.
Oh,
So
yes.
there's innate things that we are born with, right? And it's always about get something or avoid something. And it really gets to be that simple. And I think that if we keep that in like the forefront of our mind, like you can pinpoint any behavior that anybody does. You can pinpoint it in an animal, you can pinpoint it in your significant other. Like get something, avoid something. And you can see that as pleasure or pain, you can see that as whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And nurture nature. Like there are things that the nature is what you're born with, those survival skills. And so when we're young, like we are picking up, we are making all of these different connections. And as the brain is growing from 0 to 7, because that is when it grows the most, especially from 2 to 5, it's really those synapses that are firing off rapid fire, and the brain grows at rapid speed to absorb all of this, to take all the nuances in, to understand like the social pragmatics of how to interact, how to behave, and who is safe and what is safe, and how do I just keep myself alive,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so for that, it's like was really important for me to be able to just care for myself well. And then
Yeah.
take it back to, okay, nature. Nature, what are the things that I need? And that was a pivotal question. That was such a pivotal question that I hadn't asked myself in 30 years. And so the practice turned into a body scan, and the body scan being somatics, and then offering very practically what it was that I needed in that moment. Because if I'm being really fucking honest, I am so ugly hangry. Like, she's not cute.
Nobody is.
No, no. And then I look at my toddler and I'm like, girl, you need something. Like, what you need?
And the simplicity of that too, just like bringing it back to the somatic experience in this moment, back to the body without overthinking it, like get out of the mind, into the body, out of the mind, into the body, and bringing it back to like the somatic scan, the body scan, and then that simple, what do I need in this moment? Maybe it's a sip
Mhm.
of water, maybe it's a carrot, maybe it's like a big ass sandwich, but with a bunch of like tasty meat on it that you need.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's some sun on your face, like bringing
Yep.
it back into those simple, tiny, minute things that we can do here and now. It allows us to get out of that state of overwhelm and like trying to like jump to the top of the mountain without taking the first step up the trail up to get to the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really a powerful practice, because it seems simple when we're talking about it, but
Mhm.
it's the simple things that are simple to do are just as simple not to do.
Yeah. And I've questioned that, like, over the last creating a business, being in a business, stepping away from it, and then recultivating it, just kind of like doubted that practice. But it is tried and true. It's tried and true for me. It's tried and true for like my, clientele. It's tried and true for my child. Like this is a practice that works. And I
Hmm.
give it out freely. Like just ask yourself that question. What do I need right now? What do I
Yeah.
need right now? Just ask that question. Like if I don't do anything else with anybody else ever again, like I just want everyone to just practice that. Just even 1 degree more than they have in the last decade.
It's truly transformational. Like that 1 degree, the analogy, if you're flying from LA to New York and you're off 1 degrees, you end up like hundreds and hundreds of miles away from New
Yeah, you're
York
going to be in North
City.
Carolina. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So even like trying maybe it's just once a day you introduce
Yep.
that question into your existence, into your practices,
Yes.
is what
Yeah.
do I need in this moment? And then deliver it to yourself, because not only are you asking yourself what you need, but then you're delivering it to yourself. So not only does it feel good in this moment, this is how I teach yoga every single day, but not only does it feel good in this moment, but you're actually building trust within yourself when you ask yourself what you
Exactly.
need and you deliver it to yourself. So not only is it like on the actual like, oh, I'm hydrating myself, like this is a physical thing that's good for me, but you're actually
Yeah.
building your inner self assurance within that
Yep.
practice as
Every
well.
single time. And every single time it is creating the brain synapses, right? And making them stronger. And I always have this analogy of like you're walking down a path, right? And maybe you're bushwhacking, and the first time you do it, it's really hard. And you're going over rocks and roots and stumps and around trees, and it is motherfucking hard. And the more you do it, right, the path becomes more pronounced. And so
Mm-hmm.
then it gets to be it's not that the path is easier, it's that you got stronger on that path. And you're no longer bushwhacking, but you've built the connection. And so then hydrating and always having a water bottle on hand becomes a lifestyle choice, you
Fuck yeah, it
know?
does.
It becomes a lifestyle choice. And then you're like, "Oh, I love the sheen on that water bottle." And then you get all hyped up and I almost said some things I don't think I want to say, but like super excited about water bottle.
Oh my God. I literally don't go anywhere
Yeah,
without my
no,
water bottle. It's like a
no.
running joke with my friends and family. Like, oh, Kelsey's got her
Yeah,
security bottle.
exactly. And this is a 40 ouncer, and I know that I'm going to drink 3 of these today, and I'm going to feel fantastic.
Yes, exactly. Oh my gosh. Oh, I love that so much. So as you developed like this trust within yourself and this being able to actually like respond and take care of yourself and like asking yourself what you need, delivering it to yourself so that you can build that self-assurance, how did you actually see your magic within yourself like turn back on and like really start to light up? Because I've witnessed you light up as you ask yourself what you need more and more. I've witnessed this in you. how
Yeah.
how do you witness it within yourself?
Um, when there's noise, noise in the brain, and like there's all sorts of like dysregulation, I know there's time for change. Like I wish I could feel that sooner in my body. I am still cultivating that practice, right? But now I know with all of this lived experience, with all of this transformation, and it's mind, body, spirit transformation, transformation within like, leaving 9 to 5 land and finding different avenues to provide income to my family, build a business, burn a business down, and then recreate and like reemerge. Like it's it's usually the chatter. And it's the chatter that I am now very aware of. And I'm like, oh, hey, it's time for a shift. Like, what is this really about? And so that piece, it comes into play. And the trust. Honestly, it was just not wanting to do what anybody else told me. I don't want to do what you are telling me to do. Like, I just don't. And I know that my clients don't want to do that either. And they also know innately know what to do for themselves. Like behavioral health habit coach and parent transformational support person, like and maybe you just need to remember it, right? You need to remember that like you are so badass, but nobody wants to be told what to do. And I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
be told by my coaches, and I don't want to be told by like mentors. Like I fucking don't want to do what you're telling me to do, especially if it doesn't feel great in my body. It's really kind of like coming back to the question, what do I need right now? And like, is the chatter kind of dissecting the chatter? And
Mm.
I think that that is a practice in and of itself, right? And
Absolutely.
it's something that you have to be willing enough to do.
Yeah. And that is actually a really magical practice as well. So when you can come back to what that question, what do I need now? And then allow yourself to witness and become the observer of the chatter, that is a magical practice because if we let the chatter in our brain just run fucking wild, my favorite analogy of like an untamed brain, for lack of a better term, is like it's like when you're not paying attention to your brain and you don't allow yourself to be aware of your thoughts in your brain, it's like a toddler with two kitchen knives running around the house like crazy. It's like fucking chaos. And you're like just waiting for the blood and chaos and screaming. Right. But when you can actually ask yourself what you need, which creates that magical spark to become aware of the chatter in your mind so that you can allow yourself to maybe take the knives away from the toddler so that the toddler is just running around, maybe not with the knives though, but like being able to become aware of the what is happening in your mind so that you can decide what's serving you, what's not serving you, what you want to keep, what you don't want to keep. That creates magical transformation within your mind, not
Yeah.
like not just how you feel in this moment, but it starts to reprogram your subconscious mind too.
Absolutely. And I call this connection before correction. Like,
Oh, I like that.
I've got the one-liners, Kelsey. Write them all down,
I
put them on
fucking love them.
stickers, bumper sticker that one. Like that
Yes.
is a Jesseism for the fridge. But really connection before correction. And I do this in parenting, and this is how I was, I was taught this. This is something that I was taught by um like Pickler and Rye approaches, like developmental studies in early childhood education, behavioral theorists, right, who really believed that it was a three-pronged approach to interacting with humans. And it's respect, reciprocity, and responsiveness. And having those three things creates a really harmonious relationship, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
and helps you to helps you to collaborate. And 15 years, well, 12 and a half years, almost 15, in a developmental early childhood center and teaching college students how to do this work also, like this is tried and true. Like you can teach this to children. You can be a collaborator with children. You can treat humans with decency from birth. Like
Mm-hmm.
I have always like I'm just gonna like go on a riff here. Like I've always asked my daughter if I could change her diaper. And that's fucking weird to people. But I am setting a foundation. I want permission before I do any type of caregiving act for that child. And I've done this with hundreds of other people's children. I don't, I want them to be a participant. I want them to be in a reciprocal relationship with me where they have choice. Well, yeah, right? Right? You're blowing your mind right now.
Yes, mind blowing. Like
Yeah.
I worked in daycares for years and years as like a teenage. I mean, that was like my first job was babysitting, and then I started
Yeah,
working in
yeah.
daycare for many years as a teenager, and even nannied into my early 20s. Anyway, um, I never once have heard anybody ask permission to change a child's diaper, but
Yeah.
what a valuable lesson and like
Yeah.
a thing to be able to teach them to know that they have autonomy over their own body, over their own
Yeah.
being, and they have choice over their own body and their own being, and they can create that decision for themselves, which builds again the trust in
Yeah.
themselves.
No,
Wow.
you are neither bad or like a terrible person for not doing this. And your listeners are going to listen to that and be like, I never did that. Like I'm bad. No, no, no. Like realize that like you just don't know what you don't know. And
Totally.
this is sort of that space where you get to kind of ponder that and ask like, well, how can I do that in a different way moving forward? And if you're, I don't know if this is going to be like broadcasted on YouTube or wherever because we're filming it also, but like
Mm-hmm.
if you look behind me, there's a picture of my infant right here. And that is the day she was born. And I just wanted something different for her than I ever had. Now, again, I am not saying that I like hate my parents or my parents are bad. Like, I love them and they give me such a foundation, but they don't have the knowledge that I have, like gift and
Mm.
curse. Like, I always say knowledge is a gift and a curse at some points because there's, you have too much and then you're like, who do I talk about this part with?
Totally.
And I was able to like kind of share that with my husband. It was like, we are setting the foundation for future years. I want her to trust herself. I want her to know that her words have power. And yes, like it's not a choice that you have shit in your diaper and I have to change it. Like it's not a choice.
No, we're gonna change it
Yes,
here.
it's time. It's time. But I can provide offering hands and ask for permission to pick them up and then watch as my youngest of infant raises her hands to meet mine. That's
Mm.
reciprocity. That's respect. And that's like that is the responsiveness to like with two people. That
Mhm.
is just human decency. Those are rights. And we give them to the youngest of young. And so, like, I knew that I wanted my child to have that. I knew that that was the kind of like family values that we have because my husband is very much so that way. And I picked him for a very specific reason. And he makes me feel this most safest place on earth. And I needed that, especially for some of the background that I've also experienced, where my voice didn't matter, my body wasn't mine, and I wasn't allowed to trust myself. So,
And being so intentional. I love that you shared the photo behind you and that it was like not just an infant photo, but like the day she was born, and to really to have it framed in your space like this, to be that reminder of your intention that you set long before you can even conceived her, right? Like of wanting to be able to not just teach self-trust, but demonstrate self-trust in that it's caught, not taught, right? And be able to also teach that from that early stage. And even when you said she was like reaching her hands up to you, even though she was a newborn infant, like just creating that reciprocal energy at such a young age. And also that I feel like the autonomy is in being her own being,
yeah,
and
yeah,
having the, oh, what's the word I'm looking for, having the ownership of her own body and her own
yeah.
being.
Yeah, knowing that like it's okay to trust yourself and it's okay to have these big feelings that I'm not gonna like this is part of like the parenting journey and the changing the way that we do things for children, right? Changing the way that we do things for ourselves and it's reparenting and letting ourselves be okay amidst many things that didn't used to be.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. And I just really appreciate you sharing so vulnerably and openly here, because I know that it's not always fun or easy to like, we can grow through things that we've been through in the past. And then when we look at them again, it's like a fresh new lens and we have all this new knowledge and this new understanding. And it still can be really hard when we are reflecting on parts of our past that we either did not intend, did not desire, did not want, or like we're not happy with how we showed up in that area. But I think that it is also in the same light so powerful and empowering when we can look back, recognize the growth that we have created within ourselves, the learning that we have created, knowing that the seeds that we planted so long ago before excuse me, your daughter was conceived, even like those seeds that you've been nurturing and growing for so long, to be able to not just empower your daughter, but everybody your daughter interacts with on the playground is going to be
Yeah,
empowered through these teachings that you're teaching her, just inadvertently, right?
hopefully.
Oh no, I know they will be. Absolutely. To
Long
be,
haul work. It's long haul work, Kelsey. This is long haul work, not instant gratification, and that's a lesson.
ooh, that is a lesson, because that's also, I mean, that comes back to everything, right? Like, do we want this now or do we want this later? Like, what do we
Mhm.
actually want more? Do we want this um this delicious looking cake in front of us right now? Or do I want to feel like really strong in my body and my movement practice later? Or do I want to say something off the cuff that might not necessarily feed this relationship with this person right now? Or do I want to sit here and think about what I actually want to say for the what's going to happen after this conversation?
Yeah, yeah. And that it's none of us are perfect at this. And that kind of
Absolutely
gets to
not.
be the beauty.
That
Like,
is the beauty.
like
Absolutely.
I know what I want, and I know what I want for like everybody else's families and children. I don't like I'm trying my best to be like, okay, like we're all doing this so fucking imperfectly. And that's the mission. Like have a little bit of knowledge, have a little bit of awareness, acknowledge what is or isn't working. And if you want something different, align with it.
Oh,
Like that's the A team right there. Like awareness, acknowledgement, align, action, and then like assess that shit. Assess that
yeah,
shit.
absolutely. Truly. That is, I like that. The A team. You are full of
hmm
all of the one liners
Oh
today.
my God, I know. Like I need to
I,
save this and write them down.
well, we got it. But
Perfect.
truly, like, um, the assessing afterwards as well, like
Mhm.
not just the awareness and the aligning and the action, like the awareness, aligning and action, but also assessing like, okay, is this like, how did this serve, how did this limit, like understanding and reflecting, and like so that we can move forward again as like aligning and oh shit, I already forgot the A's.
All good, all good. It's, that awareness piece, and then you
Yes,
acknowledge like
you.
what's true for you in this moment. And it's neither good or bad. Like it just is what it
Mm,
is, right?
yeah.
So the
Oh,
A team, awareness, acknowledgement. I do believe it. I align with what I want, and I kind of get my clientele to align with what they want so that they can kind of make those decisions and try, test, and see, right? Thoughts
mhm.
like we are the scientists of our own lives. We are the scientists of our own bodies, our minds, and you get to try and test and see. And I know like Tony Robbins has this like thing, little riff or little tangent, but like he's like, never try. Try is like not it must be a must always. If you're trying, like you're failing. Well, I don't actually believe that. I think that you truly get to try. And when you give yourself that permission and you give yourself permission to not be extraordinary, and you give yourself permission just to be 1 degree a little bit better than you were yesterday, then like that's fucking where the magic happens. And it is simplistic and it is sustainable. And that
And truly
go.
the simplicity of it is what creates long lasting transformation too. Like being able to take one step at a time, 1 degree at a time, right?
Yeah.
Like that is
Yeah.
what creates the muscles in our self, in our being, in our brain, in our body, so that we can create that sustainable transformation that we desire. And we
Yeah.
do get to try things on. It's like going to the fucking store and trying
Mhm.
on like
Mhm.
5 dresses. And it's like, oh, I don't like
I
this
don't like
one
that
because
one.
that
Yeah.
one's scratchy on my skin. And oh, I don't like that because like my boobs popping out there, like it just doesn't fit. Oh, but
Yeah.
this one fits like so good,
And
right?
it feels good. Yeah,
Oh
try it
yeah.
on.
Yes, we
I
get
don't
to
think we
try
give
it on.
ourselves enough permission to do that sort of work. Like we have this kind of linear perspective, and I think that when we can let go of that, like man, that piece opens doors. And I think that when you especially like in this season right now, I want a little bit more. Like I feel solid in the parenting like space in my parenting journey. And as I say that, I know that my daughter will change and then I will be fucked and I will have to figure it all out again. But it's that constant adaptability and that constant ability um to mm, to be resilient and to know that I've got this. And if I don't, then I have a whole host of people I can turn to and a community to kind of connect with and accountability and, all the things that I should desire for what I want.
Mhm. And that truly is magic, right? Because we can tap into our magic all day long. And there's also the part of us where we are herd creatures and we do need that connection outside of us. And we do need people to be able to, or like for us to be witnessed by so that we can have that magic in ourselves reflected back to us. Because sometimes we're like too close to the mirror to be able to see ourselves fully. And when we can have community supporting us, reflecting back to us our own light, our own magic, our own transformation, that helps us see it and embody it at a deeper level. And being able to lean on the community that you have and that you've built and that you've cultivated, not just for yourself, but also for your family, that also trusts or like instills that in your daughter, right? Knowing
Mm,
that it's okay to ask for help, because that's all part of this too, is like being able to trust ourselves enough to know when we want and or need to ask for help.
yeah, absolutely. And I think that like that brought me back to a moment when my business was just blossoming. I made a
Mm-hmm.
business because very selfish reasons. Like I was losing a lot of weight. People were asking how, and I just wanted accountability. And I wanted, and then everybody that I was being accountable with just kept quitting on themselves. And I was like, why the fuck are you quitting? Like, don't you know how to do this? Like, I need you to stick around. And I was like, you know what? If accountability is actually a problem, like, well, I'll be your accountability buddy, and I'll never quit. And I just was kind of born with that gene. Like, I don't have quit in me. And that's the resiliency. That's you got that?
Fire. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Like I was born with that gene. Like I don't have quit in me. And so there's all of these different iterations and transformations and like what my business is right now is very different than what I started as. I was selling weight loss hard. Like my body was different, so I was selling that so hard. And now like yeah, like you're not wrong or bad if you want to lose weight. Like great. Cool. Like take care of yourself. Like you're also not wrong or bad if you live in a larger body. And
Mm-hmm.
that is the space that I feel very secure in today. And that I'm not new, but this iteration of my business is just beginning, it's just blossoming. And again, it's long haul work. Like it's not instant gratification. And it is for those who truly want to make impact in their families' lives to build sort of that um, personal autonomy again. Agent, like I keep coming back to autonomy and agency, all my 18
Mm-hmm.
people,
Mm-hmm.
and like be able to make those choices for yourself because we are in such a like inundated atmosphere of information and what's good or what's right, but like bring it back to yourself. And we need people like you and me doing this work, helping people bring it back home. Bring it back home.
Absolutely. Because that is where we do have the choice, where we do have our power. It is here within ourselves. Like, even I don't have tiny children. I have tiny, well, they're not tiny. I have dogs and they're wild and crazy. And they remind me regularly, like, I don't have choice over their actions. Like, we went to a marketing event last night and they dug, I thought I had it blocked off well enough, but they dug into my office trash can and ate all of the dirty fucking tissues, which is disgusting. I'm sorry if that makes you kind of want to vomit a little bit, but
No,
that's
no,
the
no.
truth. I don't have all of the control over my dogs, but I have control over my reaction when I notice that they have eaten all the tissues. I have control over over the response that I have to that
Yeah.
afterwards. And if I come home and recognize that they've eaten all the tissues hours before, they're not going to fucking like, I mean, they kind of know that they did something not so good. But if I'm hollering at them, they're not going to like actually know that that's what it's for. Like if I can actually control my reaction and just be like, all right, this is where we're at, and I'm going to bury my trash can to where they just can't dig into it anymore. Like, even though I thought I had it buried.
Yeah.
But also, like, in tiny human perspective, like bringing it back to where you can lead yourself and they are watching you. And
Mhm.
like you've said, or like you mentioned, they catch more than they're taught, or you, how did you say it again?
So much more is caught than taught.
Yes, so much. So they're catching so much more than what they're actually learning from what you're intentionally teaching them. So if you can lead by example, like fucking any leader should be doing, whether you are just not just, but whether you are the leader of your household or the leader of a business or the leader of a
Mhm.
classroom or the leader of a community or on and on and on, any leader has to be leading by example. Like it really comes down to that, truly. And
Yeah.
when we can lead ourselves first, that's where it is really birthed out of.
Yeah, I am 1,000% on that. Like you're talking and I'm like having that reaction. Yes, yes, yes. Lead yourself. And like that's what people need. They need the permission to be able to do that. So give it to yourself. Like if you're listening to Kelsey and Jessi right now, give yourself all the permissions. And like take it back. Like I remember once and I was listening to a business coach that I don't listen very well. There's a little bit of a rebel in me. And I was like, I'm going to be a parent coach. And then she's like, no, you're not. I'm like, yeah, I am. No, like, yeah, I am. Like, I've been a parent coach for 20 years. Not really. I was 12 and a half. I worked at the development center and worked with college students and all the things. Um, and I was like, no, I'm going to change my business from weight loss to parent coaching. And they're like, well, we don't know who you are as a parent yet. And I was like, yeah, but I do.
I was there on that coaching call. I fucking remember this.
Ah.
I totally remember this. Go
And
on.
I was
Sorry.
like, watch me. Like I am. And like it's just the beginning. It's just the beginning because I know exactly the direction and it is like to make the world a better place. Like that sounds so like hokey, if you will, but it goes back to my roots. It goes back to like my core values. Like, it's even a Girl Scout like statement in our law. Like we are here to make, and I'm a lifelong Girl Scout. I don't know if you know this about me.
I did know that. And I think it's
Okay.
so fun and beautiful.
But lifetime member, gold award recipient, all the things, right? I'm just gonna tell my
Fuck yes,
to
you
my own
are.
horn, but make the world a better place. And
Absolutely.
I want I want that ability for the next generation and not just the next generation. Like if you're about 30, like and older, you were born in a space where like we just weren't good enough and it was always striving for more and always striving for better and some sort of idealistic state for your body and maybe even for your like income bracket and all the things and you're just reaching and reaching and reaching and our that generation gets to come home to themselves and kind of give themselves exactly what it is that they need and maybe they're still reaching and maybe that feels in alignment with them but maybe not and so it is giving yourself that permission to kind of explore, try, test, and see. And then like further down the road, you know, that long haul vision, that long haul mission, for me, it's to make sure that, and it's child advocacy at its best, it's really to make sure that every home feels safe, secure, healthy, and well, and living a life that they love, that they have access to, right?
Mhm.
Because it all comes down to how much access you have, and not pigeonholing yourself, but like seeing your circumstances and then working with them.
Mhm.
And it's that next generation thing for me. And I think that that's a universal truth where like we want better for the next generation than we possibly had for ourselves. And that doesn't necessarily mean like the things. It doesn't
Mhm.
necessarily mean the house, the cars, the material goods. Like man, I just want you to trust yourself a little bit more. Like I want you to know that your words have power. I want you to know that you are so fucking amazing right now. Right now. Not after 120 pounds gone.
Yes.
Not after you make 1 million. Now. Like you're born
Yes.
on this earth. Now.
Yes. Absolutely. I mean, the fact that we are literally like flying through space on a tiny little rock, like teeny tiny little dots in this expansive, way crazy, incredible, orchestrated, magical universe. Like the fact
Yeah.
that we are here having this conversation, breathing and blinking together, able to connect like across the country and like sometimes
Yeah.
across the globe, like that's fucking magical. And the fact that we are here now breathing and blinking truly does just make us worthy for existing. We are enough
Yeah.
just by
Yeah.
existing here and now in this space.
Yeah.
And oh, so fucking powerful. And I'm so excited about this new journey for you because it's not new. It's actually been cultivating for many, many years, your entire lifetime, truly, and this to into this new venture in your business as you have she's just over two now.
She's gonna be 3 next week.
Shut up. Oh my God. I
Yeah.
can't believe she's already three. Oh my
Her
gosh.
birthday is the day before mine.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
How
Total
fun.
wild, like birth story. Like it's a whole thing.
We'll save that for the next podcast, the birth
Sounds
story.
good.
But that's, oh my gosh, so fun. That's so fun. Shit, now I forgot what I was going to
She's
say
gonna
about
be
that.
3, and this has
She's
been
going to be three.
cultivating for a very long time.
Yes, I was talking about your business transformation. Your daughter is going to be three now. You are stepping into this completely exciting new adventure within your business that has been cultivating and accumulating and growing for your entire lifetime. So can you tell us a little bit about your business now and what you are cultivating and creating and impacting and transforming now?
Okay. All right. All the things. So I am using my master's level credentials in behavioral health and parent education and putting that together. But also, it's the passion and like lived experience of health and well-being. So marrying those two things together, right? And we need well parents and caregivers and practitioners to create well children. And that really is the overall arching goal and theme, right? So every like this is like the vision of visions, but like every home feels safe, secure, healthy, and well, living a life that they love. And for me, it really goes back to caring for yourself first, right? What do you need in this moment? So our caregivers really get to step into that space. And I'm not saying like you should be doing more. Like, let me just have a Facebook group that like politely tells you how much more you should be doing. No, like let's take what you're already doing. And if maybe you have some mental chatter that says that you might be aligned with doing something a little bit different or having some change for yourself, transformation, then we're going to do that together. And we're going to do that with somatic practices, with self-regulation, with behavioral health. So really that ability for you to kind of tap into mental, emotional, and physical connections with yourself to enhance your lifestyle, right? So long story short, I really want to um, be that support where parents are saying, okay, I I want a different lifestyle. I want to enhance my lifestyle. I want to enhance my well-being, but I don't want to fuck up my kids. Now that's long haul work, right? And we don't know if that's going to happen or not, but we can be a little bit more conscious about the messaging that we're having, the messaging, the lifestyle that we're portraying, or that and our perceptions of that, right? So I don't like to say that I am um like in fat liberation camp and I'm not in like extreme diet camp. I am in the bridge on in the middle, helping to create sustainable well-being practices. And that's a culmination of all of my education experience, lived experience, kind of tapping into that right now. And it's really kind of cultivating that positive lifestyle and positive like role model status that you want for the next generation or anybody that's watching you. So it's not just parents and caregivers, but practitioners too. Like that practitioner that talked to me in the doctor's office. Not only like, and I trust her science. I trust her science. I know that my larger body and BMI of whatever it was, you know, could could potentially give me lots of adverse disease down the road. Like, that's real. We all know that. We all know that. But I didn't have any comorbidities other than depression and anxiety. Comorbidity meaning like what else came along with obesity. Um, and so it's helping practitioners kind of understand where their biases are also. And maybe those that are in an educational setting or of an authority also be able to kind of connect with some body positivity. And that's not a like what I wish people knew about this. What I wish you knew. Let me cram this down your throat. No, I'm gonna have some really chill vibes around it. What I wish more people knew was that like body positivity isn't a fat thing and it's not a thin thing. It's a human rights thing.
Mhm.
It's DEIRJ. It is diversity, equity, inclusion, race, justice
Yes.
for all.
Yes.
And all bodies are good bodies, and all humans are good humans.
Hmm.
And maybe they're not making smart or safe choices, but you could, and you could
Hmm.
change that, and you could do different. And we only have to do it 1 degree at a time. Like just one
Yes.
degree at a time. And so that's the basis right now is like, okay, like my business has shifted into parents who want better for themselves and better for their children. And the longer vision of that is that we're in schools and we're talking about safe schools because I don't know if you were this person, but like in school, I didn't like where I sat at lunch and I was super like insecure and self-conscious and so anxiety ridden
Hmm.
because of who I was, what my body looked like, what the other people's bodies looked like, and how that was a really unsafe space mentally, emotionally. And what can our caregivers and our teachers and our authority figures do about that to help
Hmm.
promote that and create that for futures to come?
Oh, I'm so excited with this new direction that you're taking your business because truly, I think this is where the biggest transformation can happen for the next generation is planting the seeds within ourselves as leaders, authorities, parents, so that we can tap into our magic, but also care for ourself, our younger self that didn't get the support that we needed at the time,
Yeah.
whether that was at home, in schools, on the playground, or wherever that was. But being able to bring it back now to where we can care for ourselves now, you're helping parents and authority figures care for themselves now so that they can lead by example, so that they can teach their children and their loved ones, not just children or not just their children, but I think about like nieces and nephews and
Yep.
kids that
Yeah.
you interact with like in everyday life and that kind of thing. And just being able to show up from that place of personal, like your personal power, your personal magic, your personal trust
Mhm.
within yourself. And then that is caught by the younger generation. And that is then played out by the younger generation. And they are going to be able to take this self trust, this self assurance, this like knowing that they are worthy, deserving, and enough exactly as they are, no matter what their body shape, color looks like,
Yeah.
that they are worthy just by being here, breathing and blinking on this earth, on this planet, as we are hurling through outer space, like in this giant galaxy, in this bigger universe, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think that what you're doing now is just so fucking magical. And I'm so excited to see where this continues to grow, where you continue to grow, how H continues to grow as you guys get to celebrate your birthdays next week. And
Thank you.
I'm so fucking excited. Well, I want to be mindful of your time. So tell everybody where they can find you, how they can tap into your magic, because seriously, if you are not following Jessi already, you've got to follow her. She's got so many incredibly insightful and also like super tactical things that you can just add to do that 1% or that 1 degree shift each day. And like I've said, I'm not a parent. I have shelter dogs, which kind of feels like parenting sometimes. But anyway, not a parent over here. And I still absolutely love following Jessi and like getting to tap into her magic. So please tell everybody all the things where they can find you and how they can connect with you.
Thank
We'll
you,
have
Kelsey.
everything in the show notes too, but
Yeah.
go ahead.
Totally cool. As you said, like things are blossoming, things are growing. So this iteration is changing, and so stay tuned for podcasts and a new website and all the things. But the best place that you can find me is on my Instagram, which is the letter I am Jessi Greenlow, and
Perfect.
that's exactly where you can catch me.
Oh, beautiful. I'm so excited for the new things that are coming. But go follow Jessi on Instagram. Like I said, her link will be in the show notes at I am Jessi Greenlow. And thank you so fucking much for coming on the Magic is in You podcast today, Jessi. I appreciate you so much. I am so grateful for you sharing your magic, shining your light, and really talking and sharing vulnerably, authentically, and truly, so that you can continue this ripple, so that you can continue to expand your impact, not just in your household, but in the households of thousands and thousands of others as well. So thank you so much, Jessi. And I hope that you all have a beautiful rest of your day.
Thank you so much. I love being with you. And I love you. I love you
Oh,
so
I love you
much. So
so
the
much
magic
too.
is in you. And thank you for putting that out to the world as well.
Oh, thank you so much, Jessi.